Peace and love, family. Peace and love. It's your boy Chris Enlightened coming back again with some more spiritual vittles. And today I'm going in on suffering in silence. Ooh, this is a good one, family. This is a good one. Suffering in silence. Ooh. This is a good one because we've all been afflicted with suffering in silence. We've all been afflicted with it. And I think a lot of it stemmed from us being younger as children. If you're from a traditional home like I was, if you did something wrong or if your parent was mad, you had to just suffer in silence. There was no talking back. There was no expressing or telling your point of the issue. When I was coming up, what my mama said goes. And what that does is it prevents you from being boisterous or feeling comfortable expressing where you're coming from. So what I did to make sure my daughter never was afflicted with suffering in silence, I coerced her to always always tell me how she's feeling, whether she's wrong or right. From a young child, when she did something that I deemed was stupid or just bad, I would always ask her before I told her my piece. I would always say, "Well, where are you coming from? Well, why'd you do that?" And after doing that from a time she was like 4 until even now she's 26. She always had a way of voicing her opinion, and she wasn't conditioned to just hold things in. I don't care if she's happy, sad, or mad. I always taught her to get it out. That way you can move on. But when you hold on to things and you suffer in silence, it prolongs your evolution or growth or spiritual growth or whatever it is you're trying to do. So I want you all to write down at least 5 things that you feel as if you've been suffering in silence for so long. Once you write down those 5 things, every day of the week, assign a day of the week to one of those issues. You're not going to resolve that issue in one day, but I want you to at least start thinking about how to overcome that issue so you no longer be anchored by that suffering. You know, one thing that suffering in silence does is it prevents you from being strong enough to claim your divinity on whatever it is you're suffering from. When you're suffering in silence, you're just holding it in and it just compounds. And the person that's usually causing you to suffer don't even know that you're suffering or that they're the culprit of you suffering. You know what I mean, family? So going forward, I don't care who it is, a stranger, a loved one, your children, always let them know how you feel. I really want you guys to have some mental ingenuity though. If it's with a stranger and you letting them know that, hey, they made you suffer, isn't going to do anything, it's best to just dismiss that person. I don't want you guys going out there thinking that everyone that comes in your world or your area or your face, you have to let them know that, hey, you made me suffer and I don't want you guys to think that. But with someone that you love, someone that loves you, someone you have an intimate or a relationship with, you should be able to let them know, hey, I don't like that. I'm no longer choosing to suffer in silence. I'm letting you know how I feel about that. If you care about me, don't do it again. And when you do that, you'll know exactly where you stand with that person. If they care and love you in return, they'll work hard on not doing it. I've had people call me and we were friends for years. And when I stopped cursing, I don't want to hear nobody else cursing me freely like that. So I tell people, hey man, I know we used to this, but I don't even like listening to cursing no more. So if you call me, please refrain from cursing. And if they call you back the next time and they curse a little bit, you see it going down, don't just jump on them. Acknowledge that they're trying. Or if they're catching their words saying, oops, that's letting you know that they at least care about your feelings. It's not going to happen overnight. But over time, what will happen is they'll either stop calling you or they'll refrain from cursing and respect you the way that you ask to be respected. It's just as simple as that. If someone's mentally hurting you or physically hurting you, you need to let them know, hey, I don't like that. Me personally, if you're already getting abused anyway, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I don't like this anymore. I've had enough. You know what I mean? I don't care who it is, a loved one, a parent, a child, a friend, a lover. You got to be strong and let them know. Because abusers only usually attract or attack the abused. If you feel as if you accept abuse in your life, you're going to be abused. But if you're done with abuse and you say, hey, I ain't doing this no more, more than likely they'll stop. And if they don't stop, you got to go. You got to go. You never have to subject yourself to any pain. I don't care who it's coming from. If you're over 16 and you feel as if you've had enough, emancipate yourself. You know what I'm saying, family? I don't want you guys to get used to feeling as if suffering is the way. When I was growing up, I'll be honest with you guys, when I was a young dude in the hood, I didn't think I deserved much. And I was suffering in silence a lot until I was about 15. I just said, you know what, I'm done with this. And I became the enlightened dude that you see today. I just got tired of suffering, man. I got tired of not being number one. I got tired of not having the things I wanted in life. I got tired of not having the money that I felt as if I deserved. So what did I do? I started to work. I started selling chicken. And what I did was to eliminate my suffering in the hood. I don't know if I told you guys of this or not, but I was known as the chicken man. And I never did sell no dope or anything like that, but 90% of my friends did. And unfortunately, I don't want to say unfortunately, but when you start selling in the streets, you get a certain type of protection in the hood because everybody know you linked with the dope boy. But I wasn't linked with nobody, and I didn't have no older brothers or sisters to protect me. So I became the chicken man. And what I did was when I was working at Lee's Chicken, I was always cook some extra chicken at night. And when I come home on the bus line, I would give chicken to the dope boys on the block. And what that did was they known me as the chicken man. And I was known as that dude that was going to bring that chicken. Whatever your order was, I got you. And I ain't charged nobody nothing. But about a year or two doing this, by the time I was 16, I had protection because everyone loved me. Everyone knew who I was. Oh, that's a chicken man. He good. So I could walk the streets with no gun. I could walk the streets without having to worry about no one trying to get me because I was the chicken man. So what I did was to eliminate my suffering. I had to do something to prevent suffering from finding me. And I'm not telling you to go out and give people chicken meals or anything like that, but I'm telling you to find a way to transmute your suffering by any means. I don't want you going out there trying to bang your fists up against the wall to stop the suffering, but you have to be strategic about your approach to suffering. Because whenever you add more fire to the fire gets hot. So if someone's beating you and you're trying to beat them back, it's just going to cause confusion. One of the best things you can do is eliminate yourself from the algorithm or the issue or the problem. Simply eliminating yourself or removing yourself is the best way to distinguish that suffering reservoir of energy. I'm here to tell you, family, the best thing you can do to fight anyone is to not fight. Sang Tzu talked about how, and I believe it was The Art of War, how one of the best fights is to not have a fight. Whenever you can win a war without fighting at all, that's the best way to win, family. And for me, one of the best ways that I learned to win battles is eliminating myself from the people that was going to attack me. It wasn't cool, it wasn't good, but it worked for me. One thing that I would do when I was growing up is if there was like the neighborhood bully, or if I knew that people was out here didn't like me, if it meant me taking a long way around, I would take the long way around. You know, I wasn't telling everybody, hey, I'm taking a long way around because I'm scared. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I had to do what was best for me. I don't care about what no one else said worked or you a punk or any of that stuff. You have to find a way that works for you, family. And even if you're an adult, because a lot of us are suffering in silence and being bullied on the workplace, you feel as if you're not don't have as much intellectual prowess as the next person. And these, those nerves, it depends on what type of field you're in, those nerves will put that pressure on you. The intellectual bullying, acting as if you're not as smart as so-and-so because of your upbringing or whatever. I dealt with that when I worked in IT for years. I dealt with that, you know what I mean? And it was rough in the beginning. But all I had to do was study and improve myself mentally, and I started to gain some respect. Whenever someone is doing something to harm you, you don't want to meet them where they are. You have to supersede where they are. You always have to take the higher road. And in most cases, you may have to be the bigger person, and that's okay. You don't want to be the smaller person in any situation. You always want to take the higher road if you can. Because a lot of these situations that you're in are nothing more than challenges set forth by you to make sure you've overcome them. I'm going to tell you guys a secret about overcoming your suffering. When you overcome your suffering, your ability to attract the things that you want in your life is a lot easier. Even if no one's physically hurting you, if you feel as if you have an old debt that's just lingering around, like a student loan or whatever, credit card debt or whatever type of debt, when you suffering from that debt, it's preventing you from attracting the reservoir of wealth, prosperity, and anything good in your life. But the trick is to give thanks that you had that debt and you no longer feel as if you owe that debt. When you do that, you can then go back and start saying, like, you know what, I don't owe this debt. I'm going to pay this debt anyway. But you're not going to feel bad about it. When you feel bad about something, it holds power in you. You know, I had student loan. I had to pay $475 a month for 20 years, family. 20 years. The first 10 years, I was like mad and things weren't going my way. But when I said, you know what, I give thanks for this debt and I'm going to pay this debt off, it just seems like the force that was holding me back financially dissolved. I don't care who you are, family. I don't care what you have or how much money you have. The energy of debt is real and it helps and it makes people suffer. But you have to acknowledge the debt. Look at debt in the eye, say, I'm going to deal with this debt and I'm winning anyway. And when you do that, family, things just tend to get better. One of the biggest things preventing people from growing spiritually is their inability to amass money. And people think by amassing money, this is going to make things better. Only poor people think that way, family. Only people who never had money think that getting money is going to solve their problems and make them happy. If you're not happy before the money, when you get the money, you won't be happy. How many mean rich folks do you know out there? How many happy poor people do you know out there? Wealth has many facets. You can be wealthy in looks, love, mentality, spirit, consciousness, social prowess, intellectual. You can be wealthy in a bunch of ways, a plethora of ways. But when you suffer in silence, family, you prevent your wealth from finding you. Because that shroud or that cloak of pestilence that kicks in and just hovers over you when you're soaking is real, it is thick. And when you're manifesting or you're saying prayers, it's too thick for your prayers to reach the destination. So hopefully you got some jewels on suffering in silence. The goal of this video here is to make you aware that maybe I am suffering in silence. And then you can start dealing with it. You know what I mean, family? So I've given you some things to do. Write down 5 things you think you're suffering from. Each day, assign 1 day of the week to each one of those things. And start tackling them. Start fighting back. Start doing what you need to do to overcome that suffering. If 5 is too much, focus on 1. And just deal with it. And focus on it. Research it. Do whatever you have to do. Because no one's coming to save you, family. And no one's coming to help you but you. Pray to yourself. Ask yourself for guidance. Before you go to bed, if you ever had your answer in your waking state, go to bed thinking about your answer. When you wake up, I assure you, if you wake up in the first 2 minutes after waking up, write down the answer, it'll just dissolve right on paper for you, family. The human mind can't understand the divine. And I don't care how hard you think you're trying to evolve in your waking state. There's a higher aspect of you that's evolving that's going to pull you up with it anyway. All you have to do is embrace simply being. Focus on doing good, thinking good, and being good, and you're going to attract good in your life. But when you focus on suffering, you're going to create a chasm within your consciousness that's going to be like a cauldron for suffering. Suffering is one of those things it's compacting. The more you suffer, the more you will suffer. The more you think about suffer, the more suffering. You focus on suffering, you open the doors for suffering to find you. So hopefully you got some jewels on suffering in silence. If you want to support me, go out to Amazon, pick up one of my 8 books. Look up Christopher Huffman and get any one of those 8 books, family. On that note, you already know what it is. Before I say this, share this video. Share all my videos. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. These videos are for you. I know this stuff. These videos are for you. These videos are for anyone in the future that may need a different perspective on things. And that's what this channel was about, my enlightened perspective on any issue. So if you want to reach out to me, shoot me an email, say, hey Chris, can you give your perspective on this topic? I will love stuff like that, because I'm waiting for topics to come to my head to help you out. And a lot of you guys, I give thanks for you guys, and you know who you are. You've been reaching out to me, giving me topics. So on that note, it's your boy Chris Enlightened. You already know what I'm doing. I'm out here winning.